Hey there, it's Rob, and welcome to Ignorant Trading. Just wanted to give you guys an update on how everything went this week. And I know we're going into Christmas, so it's all great and exciting times. I know Kramer was talking about how he felt there was going to be a December rally. We haven't seen it yet. However, I did just have some algos say to go long, so maybe this might be the start of it. Maybe it was just a little bit late into the month. Now, with that said, I do want to go over some of the trades that my strategies found out this past over the past couple weeks and keep you guys up to date. So if we go to the G Portal NFT Discord, which I'm a provider for on with options trading, and I also have my own Discord where I'll be providing signals that I'm working on as well. We've actually already had our first win, so that was very exciting. You can see our first win. Let's see. We had a long entry triggered at 10:30 a.m. at 163.45, and then just a couple hours later, we actually had our exit at 164. So you can see it's just a modest $1 gain, but hey, that $1 gain is going to be enough to give us 14%, right? So that was very cool. That was yesterday, which would be the 19th, Monday. So I'm gonna be having indicators increasingly come in through here. You can see we actually had another long entry triggered. So we'll look forward to what happens tomorrow, because if we go back to G Portal and we go down to the portal signals, which again I'm acting as the provider for, we also actually it didn't even show in this Discord, but on my trading view it showed a long entry on Nvidia. So I'm gonna have to go check. I've noticed that a couple signals don't always come through here, so I just mentioned, and I think I took a screenshot here, that I actually did have a long entry triggered for Nvidia, and the win rate on this one was 100%, and the hold time was about 6 hours. So I actually went in on this trade for sure, and I told the group about it. So we'll see how that goes. Other than that, if we go back, you can see I try to keep performance accurate for everything that's coming out, not flood my users too much. Let's see. So December 15th, we can go back a little further. Okay, I think we can start here at the 12th. So we had a short entry triggered for Tesla at 172.26. And you can ignore this. This isn't going to be the format that I end up showing anymore. But, of course, I'm making updates as this goes along. And so it's getting better and better. I set a limit at 45 with a bid of 52, ask of 54. And we actually had a short exit triggered at 170. So you see the entry at 172 and the exit came a couple hours later at 170. So that short was profitable. However, it didn't hit our limit, so we didn't end up getting to trade that. This is me talking about some news events that were happening for the week. And then we have a Cisco long entry at $49.16. And let's see, it looks like I put a limit in as well. Doesn't look like it hit because I didn't talk about it hitting. We can also see an exit here from SPY, which says 398. If we go back beyond the 12th of what we were looking at, we can actually see what we entered at. We entered at 394. So that was pretty cool. Took a few days there. Actually, I believe this was like a Friday. Let's see. Oh, no, this was Monday. Okay, so it took a few days, but it did end up going up a total of $4. You can see from 394.11 all the way to 398. So that was another win. And again, we had this little thing where it didn't show up in our Discord, but I wanted to share it with the group. Our long exit shown for Cisco, we see at 50.41. So we go back to our entry at 49.16, and we got our exit at 50.41. So that was a big gain. That was almost $1 gain on Cisco. That would have given you a lot of money. And actually, I looks like these popped up at market open. We see we had a lot of signals trigger. I believe this Adobe one was a loss. I'm trying to see where our entry would have been, but I specifically remember this one. Huh. You know what? Unfortunately, I think this may have been one that showed up in TradingView, but didn't show up in here. Because, yeah, I don't see the short entry on that one, but I do believe this was a loss. Short exit, this was probably going to be a loss as well because the market went up on the 13th, from what I recall. And yeah, short exit, long exit. So this would have been a win if we can find the PDD entry. Okay, this was our QQQ short entry. So we can see it was at 282. And like I said, the market went up. So when we got all those signals, QQQ, 296, that was an abysmal loss for us if we took that short. PDD. Oh, okay, here's our PDD long entry. So this was way back on the 8th. We can see for 91, and then it ended up selling us out at 92. And that was, so it was from the 8th to the 13th. So a little bit of a hold time there, 5 days. I don't think time decay might have hurt us a little bit on that one. So it's possible that could have been a loss. Oh, let's see what we got here. So this was talking about the profit that we made for the Cisco one. So remember the Cisco one went up $1, so that would have been 130% profit. So that was a huge win for us. And we see that it actually triggered another long entry shortly after, just 5 minutes after the exit. And I wanted to hold off on any plays until around 10 when the market had a chance to settle because, again, this was a week of a lot of news events happening. We had the Fed meeting to talk CPI numbers, all this stuff that was going to affect how stocks moved. So, and my indicators are pretty good, but when you have these black swan events, not really black swan, but when you have these major market moving events, it could throw off the algorithm, right? Because how can you predict how the market's going to react to certain news? The strategy is not privy to that news. Okay. So we see our long entry for Cisco. We see our long entry for SPY, long exit for BABA. And we actually had another short entry trigger for QQQ. We were able to sell out of BABA. It had a big win this day, but we just got into it at a bad time, so that was a loss. I believe I got in at 0.44, so I was able to sell out at 0.37, and I think I got as low as almost near like 50%, and 50% is typically around the time where I want to sell out of an option, because in order to recover, get back to break even, it has to go up 100%, and if we have enough time on that, sometimes we can gamble it a little bit, but in my experience, you're better off, or you're better served just selling. Okay, so not all these I could enter because I would generate wash sales. So I set watch lists on them. So that's a good way to also see, what we would have been able to get. So this Cisco long that we got would have been a failure because we could see the entry at over $50 and then coming down to $49.67. So this entry was no bueno. And yes, this was part of me telling them, hey, let's kind of wait for the market to cool off because the signal is reading this as though there's not big news that's going to be affecting the market. We also had this short entry in NEO that I took part of. and I got into this limit. Now it took a little longer to sell into profit, but I did end up selling into profit. It was very meager because Neo and all the Chinese stocks were acting very weird, going down slowly but surely. And so we see another short entry, a long entry for PDD at 89.98. And this is me telling them, hey, let's be cautious until after the meeting. So then we got our short exit triggered for QQQ. So that would have been a win on this QQQ play that we saw, where the short entry was at 292.42. We actually got the short exit at 284.75. That's a huge win on QQQ. And then we've got Adobe here with a 338.31 long entry. This is me just saying that the Adobe call options are very expensive. You can see here it's like $600 for a call on this one. And this was me doing a spread for Neo. I was testing out with spreads. They can be good, but there's a lot of things that go into them, and they can be hard to execute. Robinhood will sometimes enter a day trade. Let's say you made a day trade on one of these, and you were close to like losing money on it. Robinhood might actually make an extra trade on your behalf without your knowledge, and then mark you as a pattern day trader because they made an extra trade to sell you out. So it can be complicated with some of these spreads, but they can be effective. We see that the long entry for Adobe was very fruitful. This is me just sitting at a status without the exit coming. This is typically a time where we would sell out because 30% profit is just really good. And so we move on to the next day, the 15th. We have a short exit triggered for SPY. We could see that was also a huge win, considering that our short entry was triggered at 4 the previous day at 2:30. And we got our exit at market open the next day. Interestingly, when the market was going down, we were able to pick the one stock that was doing really good, and that was PDD, which from our long entry of around 89.98, I believe we said. Yep, 89.98. The very next morning, we see it actually got up to 92.78, which would have been a huge win for us. And this was me kind of talking about how all the Chinese stocks were doing really weird. And Neo started to fall back to earth, which we needed it to, because that was like the first signal that I actually had another member follow. We got another short exit. We got a short entry triggered for Cisco. Oh, I remember this. This was like when we got like 2 or 3 different Cisco shorts in a row, and they were all profitable, at least 20%. So that was really cool. This play actually helped my first member, make some money, which was very cool. Very awesome experience. We actually got our short exit for Neo. So while we got a good entry, while we got in at a greater price, you see 12.09, and was able to actually sell at 11.81 because of the time differential. You can see the 15th, which we got this sell signal, and the entry was triggered on the 13th. That little time decay really ate into our profits. So not the best entry there. Okay. And this is me selling slightly into profit from the 0.35 that I bought in. So really slight profit. Now the spread ended up doing really well, which was interesting. The spread ended up, earning me 65% or a $30 return. And we go back to our Adobe long exit. That would have been a loss, because we entered at 338.31, and and then the long exit triggered almost $10 down. So that would have been an abysmal loss there. But again, when we saw the 30% gain, that's when I would have said, hey, look, 30% is pretty solid. Going into another day, we don't know if we really want to risk it like that. So we got a short exit triggered on Cisco. You can see the entry 48.29 going to 47.96. So that was a fruitful little play there. And then I mentioned how we missed that Cisco play, but I'll try to catch the next one. We missed this one because the limit we set was too low, and Lord and behold, we actually had another Cisco short generate, and I was like, okay, let me get into this one. So I got into this one and ended up re-ing up on the profits. That was pretty cool. Got a short exit for Disney. I don't even remember seeing any entry. That's one of the things I would like. I would like to be able to add like the entry price so we don't have to go up and reference all of these. That's something I'm going to look into. There's like a feature that I've been playing around with on TradingView, but that's something I'm still having in the works. Looks like we had another short triggered for Disney, but I didn't want to enter the play. Looks like we're getting decent engagement here. I like to see that. Yep, this was me talking about how we were up 20% again. And then I didn't like the sideways movement, so I ended up selling out. But my member, he ended up holding. And sure enough, we got this exit triggered, which again gave us pretty sizable profits of about 20-30%. And he actually closed out at 30%. So that's pretty cool. Got G Money, the owner of the group, to post about it, which you can see got a lot of reaction. Me doing my thing. And then, of course, you remember that long entry that we saw on NVIDIA? Well, of course, NVIDIA would jump up, right after we hit our, stop loss. So then we got another short entry triggered for QQQ and a short entry triggered for Adobe. So this was pretty interesting given that there was positive news that just brought it up. However, and I made the watch list for it, it ended up being very profitable. I remember it. You see this, Disney was also moving profit. I believe we got in around 90. And this is just me talking about what's going on in my own Discord, which, again, I encourage you to check out. We're going to have free signals, right? And we see that was a modest little 21% return on that Disney put. And we had to show because there was like a long entry also triggered for Disney. And so I got to keep it real. Like, we also lost. And this was a short exit. So you remember we had the entry for Adobe at 348 and the exit at 340. So that was an insanely good play here that we would have gotten. You can see here like 57, 58%. And then we got another Adobe short. And that was pretty wild, especially going into like the weekend. But of course, I created a watch list on that. This is me just talking about what events are coming up this week, things to look out for. We have the China interest rate decision. So that we'll see. We saw, I guess, the effects of that today. This wasn't really much market movement off that. And nothing too big happened in the rest of the week. Okay, this is going into the loss for that Disney call that we saw that I said not to enter. And then again, we got the Adobe short winning, right? So we saw the entry for the Adobe short at 337. and then it found it again at 331. So this Adobe short was just looking great, and you can see that it does typically better than the longs. So that's just good to see. And then we had another one, and I wasn't too confident in this one. I was like 3 in a row, but I was like, I'll go for it. And, it ended up being up 12%, but going into the next day, I know that it jumped up again. So that would have been a loss had I held it, and I likely would have held it. So good that I didn't get into that. We also got a short exit for QQQ. I'm sure ended in a profit. The QQQ plays, I hate that I am in a wash sale situation because those were just so fruitful. And I've got more strategies in the work for those type of stocks, but also different stocks, so I don't have to worry about wash sales. Like I can trade even when I've lost on a stock. And that's sort of bringing us into being up to date. So we saw another short entry triggered at 340. I created a watch list. Another short entry for QQQ. You see I set the watch list for QQQ. And yes, this brings us up to date. So let me know what you guys think about this video. This was a more succinct, to the point type of video where I didn't have to show you the live trades necessarily. I could just show you what the results of were in the Discord. And again, I'm going to be continuously adding more signals to my own personal Discord. We're just getting started. I literally just created this like last week. So I'm going to have a lot more signals come in and hopefully promote this a lot more, get the chat bubbling. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, yes. I want to set up interactive brokers to help people that are outside of the US be able to trade as well. And also help them with like long plays, because I've been working on the strategy that's I think is going to be really, I don't want to say, we'll see. I think it's going to be an excellent tool for helping decide which stocks to go long for. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Ignorant Trading. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm very accessible. Like I said, you find me on the Discord. I'll have a link in the description. All right.